If you don't know, the current Black Clover anime arc is actually a filler arc. In the manga, Asta and Co. head off to train in the Heart Kingdom in chapter 228, and then the very next chapter of 229 skips ahead 6 months to after their training, whereas the anime is actually adding context, story, and lore within that 6-month gap. Now, despite this being filler, it was supposed to be highly reliable canon filler, as the Black Clover anime director Yoshihara was supposed to work directly with Tabata and his editors to provide an entertaining but accurate story to what Tabata envisioned would actually happen between those 6 months in that time skip. Now, I and fans alike have been generally liking this filler arc, and it was very much needed as the anime was getting incredibly close to catching up to the manga. But fans were also excited as this gave people even more reason to watch the anime, as it would be adding stuff to the story that you couldn't get from just reading the manga itself. For the most part, it's been done well and seemingly accurate enough. But there have been 2 glaring mistakes that shake the very fabric of canon within the series, and the director himself has both admitted to and apologized for these mistakes, and I want to go over these within this video and give my thoughts. Now, the first mistake was actually kind of controversial before the director even admitted to it being so, as it didn't make the most of sense for the series. This was Leopold using runes to create arrays in Black Clover episode 133. Now, this is what Yoshihara had actually said in response. In episode 133, I made Leopold use magic that he was supposed to learn in the Heart Kingdom. At the meeting, I knew that if he didn't master it, then he wouldn't be allowed to use it. However, Tabata Sensei and the editors were very uncomfortable with it. There is a similar expression in episode 136, which will air today. I apologize for not checking it carefully enough. So, this is a controversial and a potential breach of canon because this was before Leopold had even stepped foot in the Heart Kingdom to begin training to use runes and arrays. So this is weird because runes and arrays are supposed to be the mainstay of the Heart Kingdom. The whole point of going to the Heart Kingdom was for people with natural magic types to learn these techniques. What is even weirder is that it is implied that using runes and arrays was in fact the supposed near limit break that Leopold was supposed to have against the elven form of his Vice Captain Randall back in the Elf arc. This being before Leopold should even have known about the Heart Kingdom and their runic techniques. Now, I actually do have an explanation as to how this could still be canon and make some sense, but first I'm going to go over the next mistake that was made and discuss that. That was in the newest episode of 136, and it's pretty much the same exact mishap, but with a different character instead. This is with Noelle Silva, who used runes and arrays while visiting the underwater temple. It added to her spellbook, and she was calling to the information she had learned of using natural mana to create runes and arrays. The reason why Tabata is likely uncomfortable with these happenings is simply because neither Noelle or Leopold have done their Heart Kingdom training to even learn how to use runes and arrays in the first place. While it is true that this was a mishap, the canon is now questionable. You can't really say either way unless the manga somehow calls back to these moments and confirms or denies this happened. In a way, it is canon now, because it did actually happen on screen in the anime. There have been mistakes that happened in works in fiction before, and oftentimes they are forced to be canon due to it is now the point of no return. Now, something that is a great thing is that these statements were issued on Twitter by the director, and the fandom, at the very least in the West, were very forgiving and reassuring, many expressing their love for the episodes and the work anyways, and the others accepting the sincere apologies from Yoshihara. I think this is actually a great display of the true greatness of the Black Clover fandom, because my mind drifts to other fandoms, and if something like this happened within them, how hard the die-hard fans would actually go against and attack the director of the anime on Twitter. It would be an ugly sight to see. But one thing I do want to voice is that there is a way that this makes sense, that these use of runes and arrays by Leopold and Noelle is much more believable than you might think. One, we must bring up the fact that Luck learned how to create runes, even just tiny ones, on his very first day of training. When comparing Leopold to Luck, Luck is a half-noble at best, if you believe that he is sisters with Charlotte. Meanwhile, Leopold is a royal and likely has higher mana. Leopold also has better mana control when you compare it to Luck in the guidebook. Luck has a 3 out of 5, Leopold has a 4 out of 5. Also, Leopold's magic type of fire is more natural than Luck's lightning, as fire is one of the 4 main attributes that make up the power system, while lightning is a derivative of the main attributes. Also, Leopold's sister, Miraluna, has a huge tie of being good at using nature's mana with her technique Mana Zone, as she is one of the most proficient users of Mana Zone in the series. So it might make sense that her little brother would also be naturally good with other types of nature's magic, like using runes and arrays. As for Noelle, she has a crazy amount of mana as a high stager, and we know the higher stage you are, the better you are going to be using at runes and arrays. Her mana control has been increasing as well, and has the more natural water magic over lightning. But the most important thing here, I think, is that it is directly stated in the respective episodes that the underwater temple is the best place for water mages to train, and the same should be applied for the volcano with Leopold. Both were in places of higher natural mana than the Heart Kingdom, and were in places that were kinda training for their respective elements. You could also look at them using the runes and arrays as getting somewhat lucky. As someone who has never played basketball before attempts many jump shots, it's likely that they will randomly have at least one of their attempts be in great or decent form and technique compared to the other shots, and that shot would fall into the basket. It is possible and likely that Noelle and Leopold would struggle to do these same runic spells shortly after this, especially away from these special locations. Needless to mention, both characters have seen runes and arrays in action, as Noelle has witnessed and fought against Gaja, so she at least got to see how they worked in practice. Leopold had seen Zora use runes and arrays, which I'm going to go on a limb here and say that Zora's craft magic works in a very similar, if not the same exact way, as they are even called arrays in the manga, are circular and have rune-like symbols in the circles. So when you add all these up, I definitely don't think it's the end of the world that Noelle and Leopold used both of these runes, or both used runes and arrays before going to the Heart Kingdom. Like I said, if luck could use runes on the first lesson, then I think that people who are more attuned to use runes and arrays could also learn to use these as well. And maybe, like I said, it's kind of luck here as well. Then, like I said, they were both in grand magic regions that were great for their magic type to progress. So overall, it's a crazy happening here, but it's really not that big of a deal in my opinion. I understand why Tabata wasn't comfortable with it, because honestly, even though you can explain it away partially, I still think it would have been much better if other things had happened and it didn't go the way it did. So I'm surprised how Yoshihara messed up like this, but oh well, he's been a great director so far. I'm sure he's going to make up for it with some great animations in the future. With that being said, that's pretty much it for the video. Let me know your thoughts down below. How do you think about these anime continuity errors? And also, do you think it's really that big of a deal, even if you don't like it? But let me know your thoughts down below, guys. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hope you guys all have an amazing day. Plus...